Actually, UL exists now for 120 years. And in the last 120 years, UL has, I can say this, made the world a safer place. You can look at it from a fire perspective, or electricity, or let's say electronic devices, or let's say your handset, your mobile phone. If you have your mobile phone, you should trust it, right? The battery should not explode in your face, obviously. Now UL is testing consumer products, fabrics, all kinds of things, whether they're safe. Recently, UL has acquired Colors. It's the previous company I come from. And we were focused not on the physical world, but on the virtual world. Like transactions, payment transactions, government type of transactions, or chips in passports. So it's not like we make the world a safer place. I think we make it a more secure place. And then if you look at UL transaction security, we look at security, obviously, interoperability, and compliance. Compliance with international standards. I can elaborate on this for quite a while, but this is, let's say, the essence of what we do.
What are the most important developments in the coming years in the mobile payment space?
Most important developments. Actually, there's quite a few of them. If you go one step back, typically NFC is still progressing. I wouldn't call that a development or innovation anymore. It's more like a standard thing. If I would select, let's say, 4 of them, I think EMV in the US, although this is not an innovation, but it is definitely a development, I think that's quite an important change in the global industry. On the other side of the spectrum, I think omni-channel is quite an important one. And then typically what I see, which are also relevant for the region, is on one hand side, I see the mobile phone as an important device. You call it mobile payments. I like to go actually further. I see governments now embracing the mobile phone as well. Government services that can be deployed on a mobile phone, which goes beyond, like I said, mobile payments. So that's a very important driver. The second one is more on the underlying level, more technology-wise. If you look at the security aspects, payment or citizen credentials, they require a level of security. Until now, there's been a lot of focus on, let's say, hardware-based security. Many forms like UICCs, SIM-based or microSD solutions, and a few others. And I see a development where, let's say, there are choices now also to move away from hardware security, but make it more software-based or cloud-based, if you like. And then you can mention abbreviations like HCE, host card emulation. But basically what it means is storing credentials in a cloud instead of, let's say, on a mobile phone. It's not exactly like this. And you also have hybrid models, both cloud and hardware-based. But this is an important development. And actually, if you see those two coming together, on one side a government, on the other side, let's say, mobile payments, which in the end reside on this mobile phone, then you could say, okay, both have the same need, right? The need for a secure device where they can store their application, citizen credentials, or car data, or personalized data, if you like. So conceptually, they're doing the same thing, but there are some fundamental differences. If you look at a banks are experts in risk management, fraud management, right? And of course, the card, EMV, is a fantastic instrument here. You can put a lot of fraud mechanisms in the card, in the host systems, etc. And I think over the years that have developed into a magnificent infrastructure where risk can be managed in a proper way. Okay? That also means that if you bring, let's say, a payment card to a mobile phone, and you have the choice to put it on a UICC, let's say with a chip on it, to secure it, right? Or you want to put those, let's say, personalized data, and you want to put it in the cloud. For a bank, they have a choice, right? Yeah. They can take the risk to put the security more cloud-based, software-based if you like, which is, by the way, not the same, but let's say cloud-based. But there's a disadvantage because you're quite vulnerable when it comes to your customer data in the cloud, but still the bank has that choice. So what you see traditionally, banks were deploying mobile payment services based on UICCs, means there's cooperation with, in general, with telcos. And it wasn't easy, okay? Technology-wise, it was quite complex. We've been involved, I think, in 9 or 10 initiatives which are live right now, so I have quite a lot of experience there. But what you've seen, a need for collaboration with, let's say, multiple players is actually needed to make this happen. That also means that until now, most of those initiatives has been focusing on what we call provisioning of cards to that handset or mobile phone residing on a secure element. That secure element is not per definition present in a mobile phone, right? Issuing UICCs with a chip is a costly affair, but can be very beneficial. On the other side, maybe there's an embedded secure element, let's say in Samsung phones, etc., which you can use. But again, that requires mutual agreements. So that ecosystem is complex. The technology is complex, it's doable, but it's complex. Then on the other side, if you would go for a cloud-based solution or HCE, which is actually an offering from Google, it opens opportunity to, especially as a bank or as an issuer, to be less dependent on other initiatives. But then back to that risk assessment again, you can only do that if you make upfront a choice what level of risk you're willing to take. And that's why you see that HCE or cloud-based security, it is not clear at the moment what risk banks are willing to take. There's a lot of pilots, of course, there's a lot of assessments. The security audits we perform as well, we advise banks on this one. But it's still not clear whether banks are willing to adopt it. You see the pilots, but it's still a bit fuzzy. So this is a very important development because from an architectural perspective, it's very different. If you look at governments, back to this risk factor, you can argue that governments have a lot of services. Actually, governments have many, many more services they can deploy in a mobile phone than a bank. I would say a bank would have 10 or 20 services. Proximity payment, online banking, mobile banking, etc. Right? From a government perspective, there are thousands of use cases you can put in a mobile phone. And not all of them require security, but some do. And in the end of the day, you talk about citizen credentials. Now, does a government have the choice to put it in the cloud? They can only do that if they're completely assured that it is, let's say, that risk has been managed. And at this moment in time, we believe that software-based security or cloud-based security is a viable option, but it's quite a risk a government has to take. That also brings me here to, let's say, the Middle East or the UAE. I think it's public that His Highness has said all government services should be or will be available on portable devices, including mobile phones, in the near future. That means that you need an infrastructure to bring all these services to that handset, and maybe we need to look at that handset to provide a level of security there. This initiative, which is government driven, there's quite some players around it, where on the other side you have banks from a mobile payment with a similar initiative, maybe with a different architecture, I think based on that risk assessment they have made. And right now, and I think this is state of the art, and this is where especially the UAE stands out internationally. This is a government that has says we want to deploy their services, we will do this, and build a scalable, reliable, future-proof infrastructure to facilitate government services and to make it usable by the citizens. This usability, by the way, and maybe I'm lecturing here, so I'll stop there, but that usability is also important because you want to make it as secure as possible, but it should function as well, right? So it's a very delicate trade-off. Then if you would look at what is the role of UL or transaction security in this one, actually it's twofold. On one hand side, whether it's the banks or whether it's government services or this initiative, we are the, let's say, architect. We design the infrastructure based on the set requirements. It should also be future-proof, so we have to think really hard on, okay, what do we need now and what can we expect towards the future? So we designed it, then it's up to the industry to deliver the components and systems which are required, and we validate whether it meets the requirements, business requirements, technical requirements, and to ensure that it indeed works, okay? And that ensures that it's indeed future-proof and scalable and reliable. So it's advisory and test and certification on that side. If you look at public transport here, RTA, Roads and Transport Agency, they have a beautiful infrastructure where actually we're quite happy to have them as a customer. And for the last 5 or 6 years, we've been helping RTA to ensure seamless travel. You have the No card here in Dubai, and you can use it in, well, quite some areas, modality if you would like. And as a customer, you have to trust your card. You check in, you check out, it should work seamless. We perform, let's say we have a role as a test authority at Roads and Transport Agency for the last 5-6 years. So we're very proud to work with the government, RTA in this case, to make sure whatever is deployed in public transport indeed meets the requirements set by RTA. Actually, we do many more things in the region, whether it's helping banks with issuing payment cards, testing them, providing them test tools, or formal approval services for MasterCard, the certification services. It's a variety of offerings we bring to the market here for the last 5-6 years. And also we're very committed to the region. Not only, of course, for us there's viable business, that is important, but also where I believe that the UAE really stands out. The willingness to innovate, the willingness to go for solid, high quality solutions. And I think that really meets the, let's say, the way we'd like to do business.
So how have you found the event so far?
Well, actually I've been visiting Cards Middle East in the past, now Cards and Payment Middle East, also for the last, I think, 7 years. And I see it progressing. And actually, of course you can say this is a trade show or a conference, but it's much more than this. This is the annual place where, let's say, the industry gathers, the ecosystems, they gather, they come together. And it's facilitated by Terrapin with great speakers. There's exhibitors providing their solutions, but ultimately this is where, let's say, ideas are created, where ideas are tested with vendors. Can you deliver this? So I think this is the essence of innovation, let's say, in cards and payments in the Middle East.